All right, now we are returning to what we began yesterday, namely the Dvar Malchut. And the Rebbe is explaining the birthday of Moses and why it's so special. Birthday of Moses. Am I in the right place? 1 second. Is this right? 1 minute, 1 minute, 1 minute, 1 minute. Have I got the wrong thing? 1 second. 1 minute. Let me see. Yeah, this is it. Good. Okay. Yes. So we're explaining what first of all the connection of Adar, why Adar is a good month. So it says Adar is a good month, and also why Moses' name does not appear in this week's Torah portion. Oh, why doesn't it appear in this week's Torah portion? So the Rebbe asked two questions, and he said that, well, there's two explanations why Moses' name does not appear in this week's Torah portion. One of them is because Moses died. This Torah portion always comes in the month when Moses died. So he said, well, that's not right, because true, Moses did die, but Moses was born. And the fact that Moses was born, that overrides the fact that he died, because he got so much done in his life, number one. And number two, that says that Haman didn't know that Moses, how he didn't know it, I don't know. But anyway, Moses, he didn't know that Moses was born on that month. Someone told me a different explanation yesterday, that he didn't care that Moses was born because that was the month that Moses died. He was rid of Moses. And so therefore he was happy. And whatever it is, the fact is that Haman didn't make the proper, values. And the fact that Moses died was not as powerful as the fact that he was born. The fact that he was born was much more positive and much more real and lasting than the fact that Moses died. So if so, that's no reason not to mention Moses in this week's Torah portion, because it came in the month that Moses died, because that's the month he was born, and his birth overrides it. Number one. And there's another reason that they say, the rabbis say, why Moses' name does not appear in this week's Torah portion, the only Torah portion in the whole Torah after Moses was born. The only Torah portion that Moses' name is not mentioned is here because Moses requested, when the Jewish people sinned with the golden calf, so Moses said, God, don't wipe out the Jews. And if you do wipe out the Jews, then take me out from your book. Remove me from the book that you wrote. What's this over here? Okay, I don't know what that is, but I'll look at it afterwards. Okay. All right, good. Okay. So Moses said, wipe me out of your book. So in fact of the matter is that Moses' condition, Moses said, if you do wipe out the Jewish people, then wipe me out. And God said, okay, I won't wipe out the Jewish people. But because Moses said, wipe me out, so God said, okay, I won't wipe you out from the whole book, but I will wipe you out from one Torah portion, and that's this one, Parshas Tetzaveh, and that's why Moses' name does not appear here. Says the Rebbe, okay, that's a nice explanation, but it doesn't really work out so good, because when did Moses say, wipe me out? That's next week's Torah portion. And even chronologically, what happened in this week's Torah portion happened before Moses actually asked God to wipe him out. Here, God is telling Moses in this week's Torah portion, about the garments of the high priests. And that happened, right? That happened before, according to some opinions, that happened before the Jewish people sinned with the golden calf. Because God told Moses about the garments of the high priest on Mount Sinai or whatever. And here, Jewish people sinned with the golden calf right after. Okay, anyway. However it is, so that also doesn't make any sense. So the Rebbe says, okay, maybe the fact that Moses' name does not appear here is a really good thing. Maybe it's not so bad as we think. Let's see. He says, okay, first of all, let's see who Moses is. Moses is the whole Jewish people. The fact that Moses was born on this month makes it the whole month good month. And not only that, it's a good month for all the Jews. It says it's a Bori Mazli that says that the luck of the Jews is increased on this whole entire month. The whole month is a good month for all the Jewish people for all time. So this was a good sign for all the Jews because Moses is equal to all the Jews. Now, like we said before, without Moses, we're finished. That's it. As soon as they thought Moses wasn't there, that's why they worshiped the golden calf. Okay. But it says, Yesh Labayr, we can explain. So there has to be a Moses all the time, right? So you can say, oh, listen, so, in our generation, so if you look, in every generation, there was always a great leader of the Jews that always brought the Jews back to their senses. And even if there were Jews that were opposed to him and the Jews that were leaving Judaism and that there were this, but nevertheless, there was always one Jew at least that he was defied all of the natural feelings of the Jews and all these natural philosophies and whatever it is, and political movements and everything. And he was a sign, a beacon of hope and direction for all the Jews. So there has to be some Moses, maybe there's several Moses in every generation, but there has to be people like that without them, the whole thing just goes down the drain. Because the Jews are fighting an impossible battle. How do you say? Against all odds. Against all odds. And the fact is, it's a miracle. It's an amazing miracle that any Jew does the Torah or the commandments. It's a miracle, right? There's so many reasons why not to. And all the pain, the troubles that the Jewish people went through, it's just, incredible. Now we're after the Holocaust. It was terrible. A lot of people wrote to the Rebbe about the Holocaust. I got to get a new camera. This thing is, who knows how long it's going to last. Look at this. Anyway, the Rebbe became Rebbe in 1950. So this was 1951. So this was fresh, after the Holocaust. So a lot of Jews wrote to the Rebbe about the Holocaust. So I saw one of them that the Rebbe said, listen, there's no way of explaining it, the Holocaust, of course not. But the Jews have been through worse things and they've gotten over it. The destruction of the first temple, the destruction of the second temple. So there has to be one Moses that inspires the Jewish people, after all. Inspires the Jewish people and gives them happiness. I mean, the simple answer for the Holocaust was, the religious answer is that, listen, so we're going to go to heaven, and all those people are going to go to heaven, and we're going to go to heaven, and the whole business is heaven anyway. So this world is terrible, however it goes. So that the world is terrible. We agree that it's terrible, but we'll go to heaven. We got heaven to go. That's a pretty miserable way to live your life, and also pretty selfish. And it's not really very much of a how do you want to call it, an inspiration for anything. It's just say, okay, so let's just try to. There has to be one Jew that comes and puts happiness back into Judaism, that puts joy, puts true Jewish identity, like you say, feeling God's love. You have questions, so you're always going to have questions. Good. They had questions about the first destruction of the temple, the second destruction, but in many ways that was much worse. But when you feel God's love, as at least it comforts you to the degree that the bad things remain terrible, awful questions that have to be answered. But nevertheless, you're sure that there is an answer. Maybe I don't know what it is, but God is good. And that's what we just finished learning about the tzitz and about this. So that's the Moses of every generation. Moses not just comforts the Jews, he inspires them to make a new world. Don't let the world depress you. Don't let the world take away your enthusiasm for doing what God wants. Don't let the world take away your excitement for bringing Moshiach and for your love of every human being. Don't let the world do this to you. There has to be some Jew that brings back this hope and inspiration and happiness and positivity to the Jewish people. And that's Moses. And there has to be a Moses in every generation, at least one. Yesh Labor, we can explain this, of what it says of the mazel of the Jewish people, because Moses was born in the month of Adar, in a little deeper way. It says this increases the mazal. The mazal, what we say mazel tov, mazel, mazel is usually translated as luck. But that's a very, how do you say, superficial definition. It's good, it's okay, but it's very superficial. What is the mazel of the Jewish people? What did the word mazel means? The word for mazel means to drip down. The mazel, this refers to the source of the Jewish soul. The source of the Jewish soul is called the mazal. You do it like it says, you read this in the Neshama, the descent of the soul below to be in the body is only harat and Neshama bilvad. That what we think is me, that what I think is me, that's only the lowest aspect of me. Huh? We can see a thing like this also with children, little children, right? Little children, they get all excited about somebody took his stick away from him or something like that. Or, you see these little kids in the shul. They in Chabad, they encourage them to bring the kids to shul as much as possible. They try to make special programs for them in any case. So you see all these little kids and the interactions between these little kids that are like 2 years old, they're just, and one of them like hits the other one in the face, just puts his hand, doesn't do any damage with it. The other one starts crying and miserable. This one takes away the wrapper of the candy from the one, and he wants the wrap. They get so excited about these little stupid things because that's where they are. It's only a little bit of their soul, of their identity is in their body. So that the world, we get older as we're more mature, right? Somebody takes the wrapper of our candy away. It's stupid, but somebody scratches our car. Ooh. Or if somebody says, you're stupid. We, that's really, right? A person that's a little more mature, so those things also don't bother him. Says the Rebbe, the whole entire business with our interaction with the world, that's only even the most mature person, that's only external of the soul. Because really, we're supposed to be feeling the Creator, or at least some different level of the Creator, to widen our perspectives. How do they say our what's the word for it? I'll think of it in a second. Anyway, I'll think of the word for it. There's a good word for it. Okay, but to widen our perspective, our conception of what the world is, that's our soul, reality. But the main essence of the Jewish soul is not in the body. It's below. That's the thing of Purim. All of a sudden woke up the essence of their soul, and they didn't care anything about what happened in the world. They didn't care anything about the future. They just knew, hey, I'm a Jew. I'm connected to God. That's me. That's my real me. What's going to be in the future? That's God's business. That's not my business. And that essence of the Jewish soul is called mazal. That's what it says. A person to eat le mazla. A person has the mazal. What does it mean? Hakol talui b'mazal. Everything depends on the mazal. This word mazal, this comes from the word nozel, to drip down. Shua makar, this is the source, to be pouring down from it life. The source of our life. That's what the rabbis say, in mazal Yisrael. The Jewish people don't have any mazal. The word for mazal also refers to the zodiac, to the astrological charts, and that's called your mazal. The mazalot are the zodiac signs. That's the mazalot, right? The mazal of the month of Adar is sheep, Pisces and Aries and Gemini and Cancer, all this stuff. That's the mazal. This refers to the mazalot of Asarin. This refers to the zodiac and the spiritual, ministers and the angels that God gave to the non-Jews. And the Jewish people, they're above this type of mazal. But the Jewish people do have a mazal. What is the mazal of the Jewish people? It says in the Gemara, the Jewish people don't have a mazal. Ein mazal Yisrael. It says that's referring to the same thing as the non-Jews. The non-Jews are connected to the world. But the Jews, the mazal of the Jewish people is higher, with unlimited from all of the other mazalot, all of the zodiac and the constellations and things like this. Ki mazal shalahem. The mazal of the Jewish people is mebechinat ayin. This is a mistake in the printing. See, this is supposed to be an aleph. What in the world this is, I have no idea. But I don't know, maybe we can make something. Anyway, is ayin. It's supposed to be an aleph. The mazal of the Jewish people is ayin, is what we call nothingness. So to speak, God, who is not a thing. Like what it says, like it says, wisdom comes from ayin. This level of ayin, of the infinite, ein sof, ayin. She'enu musag, it's not, because it's not comprehensible. Therefore, the Jewish people had what's called Mesirut Nefesh, self-sacrifice, which is above understanding, because that's the true essence of the Jews. It's above comprehension. The Inyan Zeh and this, Mugdash is stressed that when Moses was born, the birth of Moshe in the month of Adar. That the month of Adar, this is the month with not just Moses was born, but the Jewish people were born, because Moshe is the Jewish people. Ki Leda, because the birth of the Jewish people is attached. We're going to see in the generation of Mordechai, it was Mordechai. Mordechai, he was the Moses of his generation. Ki Kashura in Etzem and Metzius Shalamayla Mishem. Because the birth, when is a person born? What does it mean when you're born? Your birthday is something which is above a name. Shari Be'eta Leda, when a person is born, he's not called a name yet. He's not called any name. Romas al etzem and neshama, this is the essence of the soul, which is above any names which are called. Above even from the level of Yechida. There's 5 levels of the soul. One level of the soul is called Yechida. That's what's called the essence of the soul. Says the Rebbe, it's not really the essence of the soul. This is just a name which refers to the essence of the soul. Because if it has a name to it, then it can't, this is just the name of the essence of the soul. But the essence of the soul, just like God, can't have any names. That's why we call God Hashem, the name. This is the whole thing of the mazel of the Jewish people. The mazel is the essence of the soul of the Jewish people. The essence of the Jewish people, this is ayin. So the Rebbe is trying to stress to us, is trying to impress to us these two opposites that are going on over here. On one hand, like God, on one hand, God is totally not connected to the world. That God creates the world is just from a ray of godliness, from a word of godliness, a contraction of godliness, a level of godliness, that God is creating the world from us. It's not, God is totally outside of all the worlds, above spiritual, above this, incomprehensible what God is. On the other hand, God is in the world. The whole world is godliness. It's God. There's nothing except for God. All there is God. God is infinitely close. There's nothing. There's not God and the world. The world is just being created by God all the time from nothing. It's all God. Well, it's the same thing with the Jewish people. On one hand, the Jewish people are totally out of the world. They've got no connection to the world whatsoever. A Jew would rather leave the world, leave everything he has, than to leave his Judaism. Judaism is a thing that's his essence. It's above world, it's above comprehension, it's above spiritual, it's above any rewards. It's pure truth. That's the essence of a Jew. On the other hand, the Jews are in the world. And the reason the Jews are in the world is because they have a job to improve the world and to bring blessing to the world, to show how important the world is to God. That's the point. According to this, now we can understand the connection between birth of Moses and Purim. That Haman didn't know that on the 7th day of Adar, Moses was born. He anu, because we can see that all of the days that the Jewish people were in a danger because of the decree of Haman. And again, just to remind everybody, Haman threw the lots to decide when to kill the Jews. He threw the lots on Nisan, which is the 1st month. And the lots came out on the 12th month, Adar. So the Jews had one full year was hanging over their heads, a decree that everyone had free game. There was going to be free season on the Jews on the 14th day of Adar to kill and destroy all the Jews. And Haman was hung. Haman died like a week or two, whatever, 2 weeks after he made this decree. He died. But the decree was still there. The king said, I made a decree. I can't take it back. The decree was still there. He said, but what? I'll give permission to the Jews to fight back. No, so the Jews, they were outnumbered, let's say 500 to 1, 1,000 to 1, and they had permission to fight back. What good is that? What good is that? You have to remember, back then in those days, you didn't have machine guns or atom bombs or something like that one person could hold off a whole army, right? One person could hold off a whole army. You have enough ammunition and you run around and you're going to hold off a whole army. It's possible to do. You have hand grenades, you have this, right? But back then, there wasn't like that, right? The closest thing you had to a machine gun was bows and arrows. So how many arrows can you shoot? Let's say there's some people that they can shoot 10 arrows in a minute, 15 arrows, 60 arrows in a minute. Right? But when you're surrounded by 500 people and they're all coming close to you and they're in your back and they say, how are you going to do it? No matter how many times you spin around with your thing, someone's going to shoot an arrow at you or throw a spear or something like that, right? And so there's no way the Jews were going to save themselves. The easiest way was just to say, I'm not Jewish. You don't need any bows, no arrows, no nothing. Just say 3 words, I'm not Jewish. And all the non-Jews will say, that's all. They turn around, they go away. And no Jew even thought to do this. What insanity came into the Jews that even the children, nobody even thought to do it. Logically, you could think, like we started the class off, listen, I want to save the Jewish people. We have to make some concessions. Well, that's the basis of Reform Judaism, Conservative Judaism. We have to make concessions. We can't go according to the strict letter of the law. The Torah is evolving, it's developing, it's this and that, right? The main thing is that we can at least hold on to a little Jewish identity. If they would have done that, then there would not have been the holiday of Purim, and there wouldn't be a Jewish people. If you started making concessions, then they make more and more concessions, and suddenly you start to see, hey, we're 500 to 1. I'm outnumbered 500 to 1, but half of those 500, that's non-Jewish girls, and some of them look not so bad, and it's a bigger choice. And that's it. The Jewish people are finished. You have intermarriage, and that there's no more Jews anymore. Because the Jews were insane, holding on to their Judaism, even at the risk of being killed, is that insanity, that's true Jewish identity. And who gave them this insanity? In our generation, in that generation, it was Mordechai. Kulam, they had Masirut Nefesh Mamish, all the Jewish people had total self-sacrifice for 1 full year. Ki bakal shav, any moment, they were prepared to give their soul to be killed and not to go over to detach themselves, la'avor dat, from Judaism. Masirut Nefesh al Kiddush Hashem, they had self-sacrifice on, how do you say, even to sanctify God's name. Shari'im ratzu lahamir datam, if they would have just changed their religion, Haman wouldn't do anything to them. Shelo gazar, he only made a decree on the Jews. Ela she'em masru afsham, but they gave themselves, they were willing to die for the whole year. Kulo, v'lo Allah lahem machshava, nobody even thought. Where you figured someone would stand up on a soapbox and say, listen, guys, and let's be logical. Come on, someone join with me. Let's say we're not Jews. I want to save my children, my babies, my wife, my grandma, my grandpa. Let's just say we're not Jews. Come on, stop being fools. Nobody even thought that. There was no one say, hey, get off the soapbox. We're not going to do it. No one even got up on the soapbox. No one even thought the idea to make any concessions whatsoever to Haman, and their lives were at stake. They weren't messing around over here. Where did they get this from? Because every Jew revealed the essence of his own soul. They were not convinced. They just revealed who they were. Shezeu, they were convinced to reveal who they were, but they were Shezeu, by example, by Mordechai. Shezeu tochanin, that's the whole idea of the birth of Moses. When Moses was born, that was the birth of all of the Jewish people. That was the essence of the Jewish soul. Right? When a baby is born, what do you mean the baby is born? That's the whole criminality of this abortion thing that they're doing. It's just insane. Abortion, the idea of birth is such an amazing miracle of joy. and it's just incredible. The idea of birth is such an amazing miracle. And birth, how could people think to get rid of this miracle? Good, there are extenuating circumstances, 100%. And there are times when it's permissible to make an abortion, but there has to be extenuating circumstances. There has to be something. Birth is an amazing, amazing miracle. A human being actually comes into being, into reality, into the world. It's just, and especially that human being is Moses, and he gave birth to the essence of what the Jews are. And the essence of the Jews are, we are representatives of God's love. Every moment is a brand new birth. Every moment is what to be happy about. Every moment is a miracle. Sheinian said this is also that why the month of Adar is a healthy month. Shamazal, that the mazal of this month, in other words, the essence of the month, is in a way of tokif, as a chosek v'tokif. It's powerful. Like we say, Gavar Yisrael. Like it says that Moses, when he held up his hands, the Jewish people, they overpowered. The Kavan, since that Adar was overpowering, was strengthened. The mazal, the essence of the soul of the Jewish people in this physical world, their identity was revealed in this world, namely the level of ayin, the Ein Sof, the infiniteness, the essence of the Jewish soul was revealed in Adar, because Moses was born. Azai, then there was revealed the Tokif, the chosek, the Tokif, the power. It says the buri, the power. This is the mazel was strong of the essence of the soul of every Jew. Suddenly, that became the dominant identity of every Jew, the inner point of Judaism in every single Jew. Sheish bo chosek v'tokav, that is the power. Every Jew has the power to give their soul and to sanctify God's name in the physical world. That's why we say in Shabbos, V'yanuchu bo kol Yisrael, Mekad Sheshamecha, the essence of the Jewish people is every Jew, without exception, is willing to give his life, without exception, in order to show the love of God in the world. And to add, this is also hinted at the name of the month. The name of the month, Adar, the month that Moses was born, the month that the essence of the Jews was revealed, is called Adar. What does Adar mean? The word Adar itself means powerful and strong. Like the rabbis say, a person that wants to have, the success in his business, he should plant an Adar. An Adar is the name of a tree called an Adar. Plant in the name Adar, like it says, Adir b'marom Hashem. Like it says, Adir. Adir means to be powerful, high. From King David, right? Which psalm is this? 68. Psalm 93. Adir b'marom Hashem. That's the power. Adar means to be strong. So this month is hinted at the power of the Jewish people. The Jewish people are called Adirim. Like it says, Adirim Elu Yisrael. It says that the powerful ones, that's the Jewish people. And it says, Adir Kol Cheftzibam. Great is all that desires, very great are those who desire the words of the Torah. Adir from language is the word Adir means to be strong, powerful. To be strengthen yourself and inspire yourself in the service of God, especially the power of self-sacrifice. Be'echad, and when you say that God is one in Shema Yisrael, this is above understanding. Al Pizeh, according to this, now we can understand what it says in the Midrash, that Adar, that the month of Adar, it hasn't got any merit, right? It says, what do we say? That Haman threw lots and it came out on the 12th month, and he was happy for three reasons. Number one, that was the month that Moses died. And number two, it says that the month of Adar, nothing good happened to the Jewish people in that month. There's nothing special, no holidays or anything. That was before Purim. He made the holiday, no holidays. And number three is that the constellation of that month, the astrology of that month, is not beneficial. There's nothing good about it. Fish eat one another, it says. So it says, okay, so true, Moses died on that month, but he was also born in that month. Okay, because that takes away one reason. But we still have two reasons that Adar was not good. It hasn't got any merit, and the astrology isn't good. Says the Rebbe, those are also good. That after we knew that the month of Adar, Moses was born, that because of this, there was the power, was empowered. The Jewish people in the month of Adar, then it's revealed that Ayin, Adar Ein Lo, Zechut, the Ayin, the infiniteness of God, that is the merit of the month. And the Mazel, the zodiac, the astrology of that month, Ein Lo Zechut, the Ayin, the infiniteness, that is the merit. So the Ayin, the Mazel of Israel, that is the merit, and that is the power of the month of Adar. So it ends up that the birth of Moses changed the whole entire zodiac around. It changed the whole essence of the world around. And we can connect this also to the seventh day of Adar specifically, as we're going to talk about more, God willing, tomorrow. Now let's do the Yom Yom. Here we go.